Good evening. Happy New Year. This is Astroscoop. This is Jeff. How are you? Happy New Year 2024. And this is Astroscoop's my third live stream. I'm just getting the hang of it, practicing, having some casual fun, and talking about astrology, the signs, planets, the zodiac, transits, etc. All kinds of things. So please check out my first and second live streams from the past 2 weeks if you want to see some casual talk about astrology. So let's see if anybody's in here yet. I don't think so. All right. Well, I'm just going to pretend that there's people in the room. And of course, any of you that are subscribed, you can watch this at any time. The replay will be right after this. So this is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time. And this is the winter solstice. Today is January 6th, 2024. So we are right in the heart of Capricorn season. And I love the winter. I don't like the cold, but I love the winter time because it's such a nice change from fall, but it's also a nice time to go inner, to kind of work on some of our inner goals and our inner life and inner motivations, and to kind of wrap things up from the fall, but also start the seeds for the spring and then the summer. And Capricorn. So we are in Capricorn season, and there's a lot going on with Capricorn. So if any of you are Capricorns that see this, if your birthday is from December 22nd right up to right around January 20th, pretty much in any house system, if you're a Capricorn, please comment down below and let me know how you're feeling, because the sun transiting into Capricorn, which is the winter solstice, which we had in December, it's just a return. So for any of you that have followed astrology, or you've gotten your chart read by astrologers, or you do it yourself, there's returns like a Saturn return. There's all kinds of planetary returns. So it just means it's conjuncting and coming back to your natal planet, and it's enforcing certain qualities and traits. So Capricorn people, this is your time to shine, because it's the sun planet, and it's your conjunction from the transiting sun to your natal sun. So it's really a beautiful thing. It really is a nice thing. And of course, all the 12 signs get that chance each time, once a year, at least according to the system I follow. So there's a lot going on in the news, a lot going on in the world, a lot of heavy stuff. And I'm not going to go too deep into heavy stuff, because Capricorn is a heavy time. Now, Capricorn people, and I've explained this in my Capricorn videos, so you can watch those and you can learn about Saturn. So Saturn, which is the god of tasks, taskmaster, timekeeping, structure, order, governments, and Saturn usually is very instrumental in major change, either on government levels, federal, state, or government level structures of different systems. And also in your personal chart, it's usually about maturation and becoming more emotionally serious and taking responsibility in your life, etc. So Saturn is a very important planet, and Saturn is a very serious and heavy planet, sometimes dark, in astrology. And you'll hear a lot of astrologers talk about how Saturn is heavy. And you have to look to Saturn in your natal chart if you are a Capricorn. But if you have any planet in Capricorn on your wheel, you have to look for Saturn to get a flavor for how your Capricorn planet is mitigated. Like, is it enhanced or held back by a certain Saturn sign? Now, transiting Saturn right now, let me look really quick. Transiting Saturn is 3 degrees of Pisces. So we're at 16 degrees of Capricorn. So for any of you that are born like yesterday, today, or tomorrow, you're right around exactly the middle, 15, 16, 17 degrees of Capricorn, which is right in the middle. And that's ruled by Saturn in Pisces at 3 degrees. So Saturn in Pisces gives it obviously a more watery influence because Pisces is a water sign. Now, I would love to hear from Capricorn people if you if you feel influenced by the Saturn in Pisces. And what do I mean by that? Well, Capricorn can be a melancholy sign. Capricorn is a serious sign, but Capricorn can be kind of brooding and serious and heavy, sometimes dark. And Saturn in Pisces is the heavy planet in a water sign. So it's kind of way down by the water. And Pisces can be a melancholy sign as well. Now, Capricorn and Pisces are sextile in the zodiac. So the sextile is kind of an ease, almost a friendship sort of vibe between Capricorn and Pisces. So Capricorn and Pisces works well generally together, but Saturn and Pisces isn't necessarily a strong placement. So I'm wondering if Capricorn people feel at all weighed down by the Saturn and Pisces transit, and possibly even sad, but just weighed down or just heavy. And so for a baby born tonight, if a baby was born tonight, he or she would have the Capricorn sun, the moon in Scorpio, and then the rest of the planets, including Saturn at 3 degrees of Pisces. So that baby's Capricorn will be ruled by Saturn in Pisces, which is pretty interesting. And of course, it adds, like I said, a little watery influence to Capricorn. So Capricorn season that we're in right now, the sun is in Capricorn, as I mentioned. So all of you Capricorn people are getting a conjunction to your sun. And any other Capricorn planet, like Capricorn moons, the Mars, rising, even the midheaven, you are getting a conjunction at some point from the transiting sun that will hit that Capricorn planet and give it some sun energy, which is good. Capricorn needs that. You know, I've been talking about this in my videos, and I really think Capricorn, possibly more than any other zodiac sign, needs balance in their lives. And what I don't mean like a Libra type of balance, but of course that's helpful too. Librans can actually be very instrumental for a Capricorn because Librans are always seeking balance, and they can help Capricorn with the square there. Libra and Capricorn are square, and they can actually help each other. But a balance in terms of your workload. If your workload is so heavy and so ponderous, you need things in your life, hobbies, interests, whatever it is, or family and friends, communities or clubs or whatever you're involved in. You need something to be really, really light. You need an antidote to that venom. You need an antidote to all that heaviness of Saturn. And that doesn't mean that Capricorn people are overly serious all the time. Capricorns often work hard and also play hard. So it really is about balance, because Capricorns can play too hard as well. Capricorn goes all in usually. So if Capricorns work too hard, then there's some Capricorns that might take it too far and play too hard. So you want to have some light things, some light activities in your life to have that antidote to all this Saturn, the Saturn energy coming back to your to your sun and to Capricorn planets. That's very important. So in addition to the sun in Capricorn right now, transiting Mars just entered Capricorn. So that's a big energy shift from Sagittarius to Mars in Capricorn. Now, a lot of astrologers agree that Mars in Capricorn is exalted, meaning that in astrology, its placement is naturally strengthened by Mars, and the Mars energy is naturally strengthened by Capricorn's sure-footedness and Capricorn's drive, ambitious and striving nature, putting it in Mars. So Mars is our collective energy, and Mars in your natal birth chart is your energy. It's all sorts of energies, but it's your basic energy center. And now Mars is in Capricorn. So the Mars Capricorn planet will also return to any of your planets that are in Capricorn, which can be more contentious. The sun is more of a sun influence, but the Mars is more of an energetic or even a warrior type of influence on Capricorn planets. So it depends on how you use it. But astrologers all over X and Instagram, YouTube are talking about Mars in Capricorn right now. And a little later on, we'll talk about some celebrity examples for people that have famous people that have a natal Mars in Capricorn. But what does it mean for the transiting Mars in Capricorn? What does that mean for Capricorn, and what does it mean for all the signs? Well, like I said, it's going to conjunct your Capricorn planets. This is also important if you have Cancer planets, if you're a moon child, or you have the moon in Cancer or Mars in Cancer, the Capricorn transit will oppose your Cancer planet. And that will create a sort of a push-pull of energy and emotions that you'll have to work out. It could stir some things up. But the Capricorn Mars energy is generally very well placed, and it's very strong. It's not without its potential negative traits. Everyone's talking about how great it is, and it is. Mars in Capricorn is a great time for Capricorn people to really fire up your goals and start striving towards those goals for this year, for the New Year's, and more so the long-term goals. You know, if today's January 6th, if you have a goal that you want to meet by the end of the year, let's say you have a goal that you want to meet by December 31st of this year, or December, 11 months from now, it's not necessarily a goal in the next season or two, but you have to meet something by December. This is a good time to map out strategy for the longer term. And since Mars is in Capricorn, it's also good to think about next year as well, 2025, because the longer you plan out, you'll give yourself some time with your time management. It'll feel like you have a lot of time if you set your course instead of rushing it. So the Mars and Capricorn energy is really good because it's not about rushing. It's about striving and taking action, but doing it in a very steady way, and not necessarily like in a stubborn way, like maybe Taurus, but in an earthy way, a practical way. When I was researching for tonight's live stream for Capricorn, I was going through some words on a thesaurus website, and I came on utilization. So it's like making practical use of taking your resources and using them in the best way possible are the most correct way possible, and utilizing what you have at your disposal for lofty, strong, and reasonable goals. And that's Capricorn. That is definitely Capricorn. And it's especially true of Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is a very, very persistent energy and will most likely achieve anything it wants to achieve in time. It might take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but they will get there. And they will most likely, it would be rare, I think, for a Mars in Capricorn to give up on its long-term goals. But of course, it depends on if you looked if you had Mars and Capricorn in your birth chart, you would have to look at the aspects. You'd have to look at the house placement, look at your placement of Saturn, if is it involved in any alignments. So there's a lot to look at there for Mars in Capricorn. And then this is really interesting. So we have the Sun in Mars in Capricorn, and then we have Pluto. You see all these astrologers around the world talking about Pluto and Capricorn, big changes. So Pluto takes nearly 300 years to navigate the zodiac, all the signs. So it's been about 248 years since Pluto was in Capricorn entering Aquarius, which we're going to see in 2024. So 248 years ago. Think of how much times have changed, right? And Capricorn is about structures and government and often covert power struggles, which we're seeing a lot of. And you see a lot of astrologers talking about that. It's like power. Often there's a lot of corruption there. And we're seeing that change. I believe 1762 and 1778 were very key times for especially the United States, but the world as well. And British rule, and all those changes with Pluto and Capricorn. And in 2008, if you want to think back, obviously if you're old enough, January of 2008 is when, I think it was the 27th, is when we entered the transiting Pluto in Capricorn in the cosmic chart. So that is almost, in 21 days, that'll be 16 years ago. So it's really good to think about, where were you 16 years ago? What was happening in your life? What were your goals? What was the structure of your life? And for Capricorn people, this is really big, right? Because the last 16 years, at some point, your Capricorn sun got hit by Pluto. Whoa, that's transformative. I don't think there's any way, even if you're a light believer in astrology and you're not fully in on it, I don't think there's a way that transiting Pluto could hit your natal sun in Capricorn and not transform you and restructure your identity in a very meaningful way. I don't think that's possible. And you moon in Capricorns, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Capricorn risings, that Pluto could have transited in your 12th house of endings and hidden doings and secrets behind the scenes, going into your first house, which is your persona to the world, your first house of identity. So the Capricorn planets were hit conjunct by Pluto in the last 16 years. So this is major, major, major for Pluto in the charts of people that have Capricorn. And also Cancer, because it's the opposition, that's a push-pull. And then it would have squared Aries planets, which could be very tense, and square Libra planets. So also Libra, Aries, and Cancer sun people got either an opposition or a square in the last 16 years. Major one, an exact hit from Pluto. So you'd have to look that up. But very, very, we're living in amazing times here of change. And It's a little scary, but also very exciting. So January 22nd, so in 16 days, Pluto is going to enter Aquarius. We're going to come out of late Pluto and Capricorn, and we're going to enter Aquarius, and we're going to be right at the very beginning, a critical degree of Aquarius, which is technically the Capricorn Aquarius cusp. So we're going to enter that in a little over 2 weeks, and that's huge, right? So Pluto and Aquarius is very different than Capricorn. It's also serious. It's also can deal with restructuring of communities and groups, but it's more so in a humanitarian way. And it's also bringing back, here I have Aquarius here, Aquarius, power of the people. So anytime you have an outer planet that's powerful, Pluto is probably the most powerful. So in a transitory, in a generational way, now we're going to see, and this is a really powerful time for babies to be born. For babies to be born in the next decade, wow. I mean, amazing, amazing charts they're going to have. Think about that. The times we're talking about right now, this history, any of you that are pregnant, or if you plan to be pregnant in the next year or two, imagine your children are going to have this Pluto in Aquarius, the power of the people. And it's also has to do maybe with artificial intelligence, the electric cars, electricity. It's pretty amazing. And that's coming from Capricorn, which is, back in the day, back in the day of the 1700s, the rule of plutocrats, right? Kings, queens, monarchs, the power, the power pyramid, with all the power at the top, the like 1% of power and the rest of everybody down here. So that's Pluto and Capricorn that we've been in for so long, and so much of history has been under that. So we're going to go to Aquarius, which is so cool. So then Pluto Aquarius will remain in Aquarius from January 22nd until September 3rd of this year. So most of the year, more than 2 seasons, we'll go through into Cancer, which will be 6 months, and then Leo, Virgo. And then when we're in Virgo on September 3rd, right after Labor Day, Pluto will slide back and re-enter Capricorn. And that will finish up some of the mess that's happening in the world, and some of the corruption and hidden power dealings and struggles. Some of that stuff that's coming out now, which if you go on social media, it's all over the place. There's so much truth that's coming out. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories and musings from years ago that are actually truths now. So you really should just be vigilant, stay calm, have a clear mind, keep positive, but you should also be really aware of what's going on, and don't dig your head in, don't put your head in the sand, because there's a lot of truths coming out this year. Pluto and Capricorn going into Aquarius, that does not play around. That's serious. Aquarius is all about serious truth. Uranus, major changes. So we're seeing that up until September, when it goes back into Capricorn, finishes up its kind of messy Capricorn business with the restructuring. And I know some of that is vague and hazy. And I generally don't do specific predictions. I know a lot of people do. I don't generally do that, not because I don't think I can, but because I look at the bigger picture. There are certain events that you can pinpoint, and there's a lot of good astrologers that have written some really, really good detailed articles about events with the Pluto, the Uranus, and Saturn, especially Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto, and a little bit with Neptune, that are great. And some of those people have they have more of an eye for detail than I do, which God bless them. I can't write a 50-page. I just can't write a 50-page essay on where Pluto hit every event in history. But some people have done that, which is amazing. Thank goodness there's people that have done that and can teach us, because I can't do that. So September 3rd, Pluto goes back into Capricorn. 2 months later in November 20th, Pluto re-enters Aquarius. So it's like Capricorn, Aquarius, back to Capricorn, Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, boom, 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 boom. So Saturn, Uranus, Uranus, Saturn, Saturn, Uranus themes with Pluto. And because Pluto is so strong, I know we astrologers, we must all sound like a broken record, because I watch other podcasts and live streams of astrologers, and big astrologers and little channels like myself, and you can learn from anybody. You know, you can learn. Believe me, you got to give some of the smaller people a chance. Just because people haven't written books or aren't writing for the Mountain Astrologer or Cosmopolitan or New York Times doesn't mean they don't have serious wisdom to share. Sometimes people don't want to do that. So give the smaller channels a chance. That's my little pitch. But yeah, so November we're going Pluto into Aquarius, and we're going to probably see a lot more of mandates with. We're going to see a lot of mandates with electricity. You know, because Aquarius is electric. It's electric, so you know it's literal electricity, but it's also metaphorical electric. So you know it's like Tesla and the electric cars. I think there's going to be some forcing there. I think some governments want to force more people to be on the grid, because then they have more control. They could shut down cars if they want to. Imagine if you couldn't charge your car, you know, in the future, if it doesn't take gas and you can't get on a grid and you run out of juice. Imagine if the government says, "Oh, it's Wednesday. I'm sorry, you can't charge your car today." That could happen, right? Isn't that kind of going back to the rationing of the gas? I think it was in the 70s. So, I mean, things like that could happen again. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But it's definitely interesting. And Aquarius can be a rebellious sign. So putting it in the structure of Pluto, so generationally, the transformation principle for the generation coming up, like I said, the babies being born to, you know, later in the year or even tonight, it's still almost Aquarius because it's a cusp degree. So babies being born in the next year, wow, amazing, amazing. So I hope some of you that see this today or a year from now or 2 years from now, if you are a mom or a dad to be, and your parents to be with a child in the next year to two, wow, get your child's natal chart done by myself or someone that you trust, because it's going to be an amazing time to have that. Not all positive, but there's going to be a lot to work out there and struggle. All right, where are we? We're at 28. Okay, I'm seeing, let's see. Whoops. So I think there's 2 of you in here, although I don't see, let me see. Okay, I don't see anybody, so I'm not sure if let's see. Oh, there we go. I guess I didn't have it. Oh, thank you. Hi, Carolyn. I didn't have the, I guess I didn't have it enabled. I'm still getting used to all this. Boy, I'll tell you, it's funny because some of the YouTubers I watch that have streamed, 50 times or 100 times, I still see them make mistakes, and they go back and forth with different streaming software. So that makes me feel good, because it's always a learning experience, and it's always, it's like being live on stage or something, right? And I'm not really used to this. I like doing my videos where I'm in my studio by myself, my nice little cave. Men like their caves. And I'm in my studio by myself, and I'm doing my takes. And I feel like no one's watching me, even though people are going to see me. And potentially, hopefully, thousands. But this is a whole different thing. But it's definitely fun. So I guess there's 2 of you in here. I see Carolyn. I don't see the other person's name. Not sure. All right, that was a pop-out chat. All right, I'll have to see here. Restore chat. Not sure what happened. All right, live chat. All right, I think there was someone else in here. They may have left. Okay. So again, this is really just practice for me, and we're going through the transits. I'm going to be talking about all sorts of interesting stuff this year on these live streams. So it's really a chance for you to watch my videos. So my videos are 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes long, and you get a snapshot of a sign or something. And then the live streams will be an adjunct and a supplement to that, where it's more freeform. And my hope is in a few months to get, 5 or 10, 12 people in here that can start asking questions, and maybe we can start doing some mini reads. So as a reward for your attention and your patience, do a mini read on the natal chart, or even giving me a placement of yours that I can look at and compare to the current transits right now, because it's fun. Astrologers, the more charts we look at and the more energy we play with, it's like toning. It's like working out at the gym. It's just toning our muscles, toning all sorts of muscles on different levels. So it's really good. And let's see. So we talked about the Pluto and Aquarius. Capricorn was ruled kings and queens. Aquarius is the people, and Ceres, 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 which is like an asteroid. It's like an asteroid, depending on which software program you look at or use. I know I've used a couple different ones, and sometimes they show up in the chart as an asteroid. It's listed, and I think like Juno or Pallas, Vesta, and in others it's like a dwarf planet. So it's almost like a little mini Pluto, or a mini Venus kind of thing. And I believe Ceres is kind of equated to Taurus. It's an earthy energy, an earthy asteroid, and that's also this year in Capricorn. And that relates to Pluto. Interestingly enough, I read an article by an astrologer that she was mentioning that in Roman times, Ceres and Pluto there was a relation there of interaction. So we just talked about all that Pluto, Capricorn, Aquarius, and now we have Ceres and Capricorn. So no pun intended, what a serious, God, how many serious years we've had. And also with Aquarius, even though Aquarius is air, Aquarius is very serious-minded in terms of how it approaches the group consciousness. So Aquarius Pluto's going to magnify that, and change that group consciousness. And with Ceres and Capricorn, I'll have to do a little more research into that. Maybe we could talk about some of the dwarf planets and asteroids that are orbiting some of the major planets, sort of thing, which is really cool. But yeah, it's really fun times and serious times. And this is definitely, Capricorn is definitely a time to figure out your long-term goals for the year. So Capricorn's not a time to say, what are my goals in the next 30 days necessarily, or even 90 days. That would be a faster moving sign, or even more, that would be more like an Aries goal, or a Gemini goal, or a Sagittarius goal, minded goal. But Capricorn minded, no, it's it's utilization, right? So it's your practical resources. And Capricorn's, the interesting thing about Capricorn energy that I've observed with people, or people that I've done readings for, is the Capricorn energy is sort of, it's sort of like, can be anxious. Capricorn can have an anxious expression because of the seriousness, but they can also be super calm and hide the anxiety. very well, because Capricorn is sort of Capricorn is not a sign that gets flustered easily. So like Cancer is very emotional. So Cancer is the moon, right? So the opposite is Capricorn, which is Saturn. So Saturn isn't, it's not that Saturn is not emotional. Saturn does care. Capricorn does care. I mean, that's serious. So if you have a Capricorn planet and you're evolved and healthy with it, you are truly concerned and care about what really, really matters, because Capricorn is not playing around. Capricorn is not superficial. So it has depth, and it's underneath. That emotionality is underneath, but can often appear calm and yet still be a little anxious. And Capricorn wants to be left alone, but yet wants recognition. I want to be recognized. And we'll talk about the celebrities. Mars in Capricorn is a very strong, strong energy. The Sun in Capricorn is very strong. It's not necessarily poorly placed or a beautiful placement. It's kind of in the middle. But Mars in Capricorn, for most astrologers, is the most powerful placement for Capricorn. And then there's the other placements. The Moon in Capricorn, I'm going to do a live stream where I'm going to talk, maybe we'll talk mostly about the moon, talk about the moon signs in your chart, in your natal chart. You hear a lot of astrologers talk about your big three: the sun, your moon sign, and your rising or ascendant in your chart, big three. That's a phrase that everyone's using. And we can talk about the moon transit. So the moon transit in the cosmic wheel, which is every 2 to 2.5 days, and how that changes the emotional weather. So we can talk about that. But yeah, Capricorn, it's deep. It's underneath there. You have to dig. And I think I mentioned this in last week's live stream, is that a lot of people, and I will repeat some of these things because I know everyone's not going to see the same live stream. So, we repeat ourselves because right now it's a lot of Capricorn on our brains. But Capricorn, people that want to connect with people with Capricorn have to learn patience. And I'm talking to you, Aries and Gemini, and probably Sag, maybe even Pisces. You have to learn some patience with that Capricorn energy if you want to gain the benefits of it, but it's really important for you, if you have a Capricorn planet, and the sun, the moon, Mars rising, it's really important that you use that positively, because it is heavy, and there can be a need for power there. There can be a need for, you want to control your environment, because you want things structured. You want to play it safe. You want to play your rules, and you want to play it safe. But be careful that you're not stepping on other people when you do that. There's a lot of famous people that have or had Mars in Capricorn that are or were involved in a lot of shady scandals. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Mars in Capricorn is a bad placement, because I said it's a great placement in terms of how you use your energy and striving and goals and persistence. But if someone feels that they're untouchable, and you have power and you have money and you have status and recognition, which Capricorn often likes, especially Mars in Capricorn, there's a lot of people in history that have had that placement, that the ambition can really backfire. So being overly ambitious or overly striving at the expense of your health, at the expense of your soul and your inner life, the expense of your loved ones, your family and friends, putting career above all else, putting money above all else, and material success and fame or fortune. Those things you can get carried away. A Capricorn planet could definitely get carried away with that once they experience some of the rewards and riches of that, because Capricorn they like that recognition. And a lot of Capricorn planets just want recognition in a quiet way. So they might be behind the scenes, like a ghostwriter or something, right? or a musician that just works in the studio and creates an epic album or an epic novel, and they're going to get recognized for it, but they may not want all the attention. So again, you have to look at the rest of the planets, especially Saturn, to see how it flavors Capricorn. So let's see, we're at the 40-minute mark. Let's see, what else? Let's look at the transits. I wish I could show you. I can't quite show you the transits on my computer screen, because if someone knows how to share your screen on YouTube, please let me know. I don't think you can do it natively. I think I would have to use a third party software, because I've done that before with other software. But if anyone watches this even in the coming months, please let me know. Please comment and let me know if you share your screen or you do picture-in-a-picture or something on YouTube, because obviously you, the viewer, are only seeing me and my background here, whereas I can look at my screen and I'm looking at the astrology transits right now on my wheel. So Mars in Capricorn at 1 degree, and again, that's a Sagittarius Capricorn cusp that we're still on for Mars. So it's a little bit of residue of Sag. And we also have Mercury, communication in Sag. Venus is still in Sag, which is our love nature. So that is still lightening things up a little bit with all this heavy Capricorn and the Jupiter in Taurus that I spent a lot of time on last week. We talked about, and the Saturn in Pisces, the Uranus also retrograde in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and of course that late degree Pluto in Capricorn for 2 more weeks. Woo! This is amazing. This is so cool. And here's an interesting thing. If you've had your chart done, if you have any air sign placements, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, if you have any air sign placements in your chart or rising, you right now in the cosmic sky, believe it or not, there's not one air placement for the major planets, outer planets, Chiron, the node, or even the true Lilith. There probably is, if I count all the asteroids, but basically there's none. There's no major air right now in the sky, which is amazing. Pretty amazing. So what does that mean? Well, it just means that Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra placements are not emphasized. The air sign placements are sort of you're hiding, kind of under the radar. So that means your natal placements are not getting a conjunction. So if you have an Aquarius placement, when Pluto goes in Aquarius, it will conjunct those Aquarius planets in the coming years. Whoa, that's going to be major. But right now, there's no major Aquarius, so there's no conjunction to your Aquarius planet. Gemini, again, there's no Gemini, so no conjunction, and no major Libra. Now, the only exception to that is the moon changes every 2 to 2.5 days, which I mentioned before. And of course, as we go through the 12 signs, eventually we get an air moon sign for 2 days. So, but it's temporary, it's transit. So it's temporary. So right now there's no major air. And also the air signs in your chart are not getting trined by the other 2 air signs, because the 3 air signs are all trine because they're the same element. And the trine is the ease and flow between those 3 signs under the air element. So right now, like I said, it's just kind of laying low for the air signs, and not necessarily, it's not good or bad, but it's not highlighted. Now, we will be going into Aquarius in less than 3 weeks. And let's see, today's the 6th. So just 15 days, I think. 15 days, we're going to go into Aquarius. So then Aquarius people, Aquarius planets, you're going to get your sun, your solar return, and then any other planets rising, midheaven on the houses will get that transit, will hit that house and will also conjunct that cusp. So that's going to be major. So it's like right now you're kind of like the calm before the storm. You're just hiding. And I mentioned that to a Libra person that was following me on Instagram, and the person asked me or something, what's going on with the air signs? I'm a Libra. And I said, well, not much. It doesn't mean there's nothing going on, because there's certain signs that are going to have dynamics with the air signs. For example, the Taurus planets, Jupiter Taurus is 5, Uranus is 19. Those are fixed. Taurus planets by sign are square Aquarius planets. So if you have an Aquarius planet at those degrees, you're getting a square. So that can be disruptive. But generally, we have to wait until there's some more air for the air signs to kind of show themselves, illuminate, so to speak. And that also works with Mercury. Mercury is not retrograde right now, but Mercury's in Sag. So when we get a little more air, I think that will help some of the messages to go around here with some of the cosmic energy. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about here? Let's see, the air signs. All right, so let's talk about, just looking here. It's talking about some Mars. I'm sorry, you can't, I know you probably can't read this. This is my Dr. Scratch here. I'm not a doctor, but it looks like Dr. Scratch, right? Mars celebrities. So Mars Capricorn people, both living and past. This is by no means an exhaustive list, because I looked at like dozens and dozens, and there's so many interesting people. But Mars in Capricorn, possibly more than any other Mars placement, is so striving and persistent that they kind of will happen upon being recognized, and they often won't be part of a team unless they're the boss. That would be my sense with a Mars and Capricorn person. A Mars and Capricorn person, especially if it's well placed by aspect or house, wants to be the chief. That man or woman would want to be, I think it would be rare that they would not want to be the boss and in command. Mars and Capricorn is commanding. So here's some celebrities that we have. We have Albert Einstein, very interesting, and talk about accomplishments, right? That's another thing with Capricorn, accomplishment. Capricorn not only has goals, but Capricorn actually accomplishes them, and usually accomplishes quite substantially. David Bowie, the late musical chameleon. Almost every major artist, musical artist, singer that is famous, that's living today, has cited David Bowie as an influence. Now, he was a Capricorn, and he had Mars in Capricorn, and sadly we lost him a few years ago. And but he was an innovator and incredibly ambitious. He did every type of music almost imaginable. He did some kind of Beatles kind of psychedelia. He did R&B dance. He did alternative. He did ambient music. David Bowie did pretty much everything, but everything he did was very ambitious. If you listen to his music, incredibly ambitious. Marlon Brando, the late actor. Marlon was an Aries, and I believe Marlon was a double Aries, Sun and Moon in Aries, so very fiery, very raw, and had that raw acting style. But he had Mars in Capricorn, which is obviously very different than the Aries, very serious, and he had that certain mumble. So there was a reserve, as impulsive as he was. There was a reserve, right? He was acting, but he was also holding back. He's holding that power back. And Capricorn is good at giving out their power in measured doses. Capricorn is measured, so it's not going to give it all out at once. Bob Marley, the reggae king, interesting. Edgar Cayce, the psychic. had Mars in Capricorn. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison, talk about accomplishments. And I'm sure there was a thread with them of frustration and probably melancholy in their lives, kind of being hermits and creating all these interesting theories and inventions and things. Probably was at a big cost to their personal lives, I'm sure. Again, a danger of Mars and Capricorn. Catherine or Kate Hepburn, born in Hartford, Connecticut, and then she passed away. Lived in Connecticut, I think in the coastal Connecticut there, who was a Taurus, Scorpio rising with Mars and Capricorn. Whoa. Catherine Hepburn, talk about, can we say powerhouse? Can we say powerhouse? Whoa. And I think she was a double Taurus with the Capricorn. So she couldn't have been the easiest to get along with in real life. Talk about stubborn, woo, and persistent. Marvin Gaye, the late Marvin Gaye, who had obviously a very troubled family life with his father. Mars is Saturn. Mars in Capricorn is Saturn. Saturn usually represents the father in the chart. You have to look at the 4th and 10th houses as well. But yes, Saturn can be, Saturn can be rough. It can be rough, especially with Mars too. James Spader, the actor that was in a lot of 80s movies, who's very dry, has a very dry, cool, serious kind of persona. Very, very, very good, methodical actor. If you watch him, highly intelligent, but very methodical. He doesn't move too slow and not too fast, but he's in command. Every scene he's in, he's very commanding. James Spader, I highly recommend him as an actor. He's amazing. Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart has a prolific pop rock catalog. He goes way back to his early teenage days and early 20s, where he did that kind of folky type music. Most people don't realize that Rod did that. Most of all those major singers did that. Went the folk into the pop and rock or blues, and then kind of went into the pure pop or pure rock famous stardom. So Rod Stewart. Humphrey Bogart, another mumbling, serious, methodical kind of guy with the energy, right? Mars's energy. So when you're watching these people perform music, or you're watching an actor or actress with Mars and Capricorn, there's going to be, Mars in an earth sign is going to be really using a lot of their body, probably, and sensation or sensuality. They're going to be physical, and again, it depends on their placement of house and aspects. But Humphrey Bogart had that. Jerry Lewis, look what he did with the telethons. He was a silly, goofy guy, but behind that was a sarcastic, kind of insecure, dry sense of humor. So I think he was kind of sad and kind of melancholy, but he did a lot of good and very ambitious. I mean, those telethons went on forever, right? Remember we used to watch those? I mean, what were those, 12 hours? Was 24 hours? I don't think he even slept. So, I mean, Mars and Capricorn, there's not much in the zodiac that can beat the endurance of that Capricorn placement. Joe Pesci, he's one of my favorite kind of underrated B actors. Now, Joe Pesci's very famous because he's associated with Robert De Niro. He's from like Goodfellas, and I think he's in Casino. He's in those mob movies. He's in Home Alone as one of the burglars, the original Home Alone, and he's also in a lot of other. He's in My Cousin Vinny. So I think Joe Pesci he's famous, but I think he's underrated because he's a really serious. He's an Aquarius, and I think he has Taurus rising, but he has that Mars and Capricorn. So if you watch him, even if he's being silly or sarcastic, he is very serious. And he has a scene in one of the movies where he's like, "You talking to me?" like Robert De Niro does. And he says, "How am I funny?" And he starts off light, but he goes into this really intensity and this seriousness. So he can really bring a heaviness, and he's such a tiny guy. So Mars and Capricorn. David Lee Roth is the former flamboyant singer of Van Halen from the late 70s and early 80s. And he's the original singer of Van Halen, later to be replaced by Sammy Hagar. Both Librans, by the way. But David Lee Roth is a Libra. I believe he's going to be 70 this year. But he's a Libra and he has Mars in Capricorn. And he really commanded the Van Halen group, and talk about serious acclaim, critical acclaim the group got. He's kind of a kooky, crazy guy. If you see him in interviews, incredibly intelligent and very, very serious. This guy goes down rabbit holes and does serious research. So don't underestimate Capricorn. Capricorn, if they get serious about something, it's a done deal. It's as serious as it's going to get. Because that's Capricorn. It's the goat, climbing, serious. So David Lee Roth and the Van Halen music, the rock music, has a really good, heavy, driving quality to it. And I think David Lee Roth added a lot of energy to that group. And the last person, there's so many more. I might have to do another Mars and Capricorn segment next week. Is another person that has it. Oh, Carrie's here. I just want to say hi to Carrie. Thank you for coming back. Thank you. Thank you for returning. I appreciate it. Both of you have been here for all three. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Don't forget to tell all your family and friends. Please share. I'd love to get like 5 people in here at some point. But the last one I have here for tonight is Uri Geller. Uri Geller or Geller. I believe the Ukrainian. Peppermint hot chocolate. Very cool name. Love it. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. We're talking about, I've been talking nonstop about Capricorn here. All the astrologers are doing that all over the world. It's all Capricorn, Pluto, right? It's Pluto, Saturn, mostly, little Jupiter, but mostly the Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Pisces, which is the transit that Capricorn's ruled by. And of course, Capricorn people are having their birthdays up until right around the 20th, and then we're going to go into Aquarius. But Uri Geller would be the last of this set of Mars and Capricorn celebrities that I mentioned, and Uri being the psychic, self-proclaimed psychic and mentalist. I think he was a magician as well, and I don't know his chart offhand. I'll have to look it up. But the Mars in Capricorn is very steady for the fact that he might have been doing something that seemed otherworldly or seemed gimmicky. Like I think he was, bending spoons with his mind and that sort of thing. But Mars in Capricorn has really good concentration if the aspects are good. So again, the Mars in Capricorn person, because that's the transit now. So Mars in Capricorn celebrities, famous people, some of them happen upon that recognition and fame and fortune that Capricorn likes and the status that Capricorn likes. But sometimes it's just by accident. They're not necessarily wanting everyone to look at them, but because they are so striving in what they want to accomplish, and they don't give up. So even if they're discouraged or shy about it or reticent, Capricorn is reserved. Capricorn doesn't necessarily like to tell people their plans, but they will show. They'll show the proofs in the pudding with Capricorn. They'll show later on. They'll see the results 6 months, a year down the road, 5 years down the road. They get that acclaim. There's so many famous people that have achieved a lot with Mars and Capricorn. What I'd like to do is I need to research Mars and Capricorn for people that have had possible accidents with broken bones, because Saturn rules the bones, the skeletal system generally. Most astrologers agree, even the skin, that sort of thing. I think that dentists I think Saturn or Capricorn rules dentistry, I believe, and the teeth. And so, that sort of thing. So it would be interesting for me to find out, to look at people and see if I could find a correlation with Capricorn, Mars and Capricorn, types of accidents or situations. Now, I know there's fixed stars. That's a whole nother thing with a lot of astrologers are into. And I use the fixed stars sometimes on my astrology software to pinpoint a little more accuracy, because degrees, Mars Capricorn degrees are all different. So like I said at the beginning of the live stream, right now, everybody, we're just at Mars is 1 degree, 50 minutes of Capricorn. It's just 1 degree. So it's barely Capricorn, which still means, because I believe wholeheartedly in the cusps. So it still is the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp right now, not the sun, just the Mars transit. So instead of the sun people, which we had, so when we had the solstice on like December 22nd and 23rd, I got a lot of comments, a lot of people asking me, boy, the Sag Capricorn people seem to be really interested in astrology. It's great. I love you men and women that are Sag and Capricorns, because you all are commenting a lot, and then you respond to my comment, and then you ask more questions. So again, the curiosity and aspiring nature of Sag, and the Capricorn, that persistence that you want to, if you want to know something, it's great. But the Capricorn from the 22nd or 23rd, that's Capricorn energy for the solstice, but it's still the cusp. But now we're in, so today, today we're at, what did I say, 16 degrees of Cap, which is smack dab in the middle. We have to go to 30 degrees. So, so a baby born, if you were born on this day natally, you would have 60 degrees. That means right around 14 years of age, your sun progressed into Aquarius. It moved into Aquarius. And then you would have had some different, your Capricorn traits would have changed a little bit, possibly to Aquarius. So it's a very interesting thing. We're over an hour, but I feel like I still want to keep talking. I'm getting a little dry here. We're at an hour 2. Just give me a moment here. I'm drinking my tea. But there's so much to talk about with Capricorn. And like I mentioned earlier on in the live stream, I've been watching a lot of astrology podcasts and longer videos about the transits. And it's so amazing. I think I mentioned this last week. It's so amazing to see astrology people of all ages. And I'm open to learning from other astrologers. Sometimes people are very judgmental about astrologers my age, or of a certain ethnicity, or from a certain country, or if you're young, you don't know much, or if you're old, you're over the hill. There's astrologers from the 20s to 70s. It's the whole gamut, from all different countries. And, astrologers, we all have our forte. We're all going to read charts similarly if we're using the same house system, but we're not going to read them exactly similar. Yes, but we're not going to zoom in on the same things. If I read your chart, I might find something. I might find a needle in a haystack that 2 other astrologers didn't find or didn't emphasize, because that's just the beauty of it, is the nature of astrology. And this is why you see so many people, especially it's nice to see young people in their 20s and 30s, or even late teens, getting into astrology. But one suggestion I would make, as someone that's been into astrology for a very long time, is don't assume, if you're 25 and you're out of grad school and you took an astrology course and you're super intelligent, don't assume because you took a course, even if it's from someone very famous, that you know it all, because it could be a very small, narrow view of astrology. So you might know a certain niche, but there is a lot there. There's a lot to put together, and it's it's a holistic, at least I think it's a holistic approach. Astrology is a holistic approach. It's mental, it's cerebral, it's mathematical. You know, you have your astrologers that are crazy with the math. There's a lot of them on Twitter or X. There's a lot of guys on X. I noticed younger astrologers, younger than me, that they're amazing. They do. I've seen a lot of them. They do amazing things with the mathematics of the degrees and the midpoints, and you know, I can do that stuff. I don't prefer it. That's a little too detailed for me. But you know, some people go way, way off the charts with the details. So that's great if that's your thing, and you're figuring out the 1 degree of Mars, and every time in history it hit this planet and the events that happened that month. That's awesome. That's why it's so important to listen to different astrologers and then kind of make up your mind. Because if you just listen to me, or you just listen to one other person, you know, there's so many different approaches. And another thing is, you know, I'm in the United States. I have a lot of people from other countries watching me, even though I'm this tiny channel of 400 subscribers. So my channel is so microscopic and tiny, that I said last week. But yet I have people from Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Canada, the Ukraine, South America, watching me. So they're watching, you know, a Caucasian guy from the United States, which is great. You know, we're so different. So I watch people in India. I've watched Canadian astrologers. I like UK astrologers because it's different. It's a different vibe. It's a different approach. There's different things that they see. You know, a UK astrologer and a United States astrologer like myself, looking at the same transits, the way we explain it is different. So you'll watch someone after me or before me, and they'll say, wow, that thing that Jeff said, oh yeah, this lady said the kind of the same thing, but she went, you know, she went back to history to the 1700s. Like I mentioned, what did I mention before at the very beginning? I can mention for the new people, Pluto. So it takes almost 300 years for Pluto to go through all those signs, to transverse the entire zodiac wheel. So this last transit is 248 years approximately for Pluto. Think of that, 248 years. Imagine how much has changed in that time period. And look how much changes 10 or 20 years. So if you're young, if you're 20 or 25, look at what's changed in your life since the millennium, since we went from 99 into 2000. Like, whoa, holy cow. So going back to 1762 and 1778, you can look up history from those times, American history and British history, and you know, Germany and stuff, and all the obviously all the problems and bad stuff that happened. But you know, Pluto and Capricorn going into Aquarius, huge. That's what I was talking about earlier on. Really, really, really good. Does anyone have you know, we're at 108. If anyone has a question, I'd be if you want to ask a question, I'd do my best to answer it. Anybody? I know we're a small group here. I'm hoping for 5 people next week. Yay! That's my small goal, is to get 5 people next week, or 4 or 5 would be wonderful. But these live streams will be, you know, a future excuse me, a future reference point for the future for myself, but also it's a good catalog for astrologers to do that for you know, for the future. But then a year from now, when I'm talking about the transits, so a year from now when I'm doing a live stream, or I'll do a video on Pluto and Aquarius, right? And I'll be talking to all the Aquarius people, and then it'll be cool to look back on this video and say, oh yeah, remember what that guy said on January 6th of 2023? You might want to make a note in your planner or something. Make a note in your planner or your Apple calendar and put it on repeat yearly, and put this date and put a little in the notes. And then a year from now, you'll wake up and that reminder, you'll be like, whoa, remember that? And then see what happened. See what happened. That's the beauty of it too. is when you get your natal chart done. And the interesting thing is astrology is like, it's exploding all over the country and all over the world. It has been steadily for probably the last 15 years. Again, there's been a big resurgence since from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. There was a little lull there, but it's exploding because people see value in it. So and so many astrologers, so many of us are, it's intuitive and it's holistic, but it's practical. We're looking at trying to give practical advice, practical guidance, practical coaching, and not crazy, silly stuff that people can't wrap their mind around and people can't vibrate with. It's vibration. That's really what it is. And when you listen to astrologers, we all have a certain energy and we all have a certain style. And some people are just not going to vibrate with us. And that also could be your planetary energies that don't vibrate with my planetary energies, or vice versa. And then you could watch one woman or man and say, wow, I vibrate with that person. And you don't know why. They may not even say anything that's that interesting or even that useful, but you just vibrate with them. So that's the beauty of it. That's the energy. It's all energetic, and that's why so many people do astrology. I think it's just an amazing thing. But if anyone has a question, let me see here. 1 second. All right, Mars. Let's see. I think I mentioned this before. So the transit, so the Mars and Capricorn transit, which happens every year. So the personal planets have a transitory period. The outer planets take much longer, obviously, but the personal planets, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, are much quicker. So the Mars and Capricorn period is a shorter period. So if you know where Capricorn is in your natal chart or your birth chart, and you can go and get that done on like astrocharts.com. There's so many free websites if you use, and you can just pick your system. It's best to get it done through software or through an astrologer using software, and especially if you know your birth time. If you know your birth time exact, that really gives you the bingo to your chart, because that will give you the exact degrees and some of those hidden kind of things that astrologers look for. But the Mars in Capricorn is a small period. So if you know where Capricorn is in your chart, this Mars in Capricorn period, along with the Sun and Pluto, can energize that arena of your chart. Welcome to the channel. Four in here, right? Oh, 4. Yay. Great. So that wherever the Capricorn hits in your chart, it will energize it, especially Mars. For Pluto, it transforms it. For the Sun, it's like the Sun energy. The Sun is like, the Sun rules Leo. So the Sun is in Capricorn, so it's like Sun energy that rules it. But if you know where it is in your chart, you will know how the serious Capricorn energy is playing out. If it's the first house is your personality. Let's say it was the 8th house. The 8th house is death and other people's resources, inheritance, hidden things, that sort of thing. So it just depends. But the Capricorn, you see probably seeing a lot of videos and shorts. People are doing a lot of silly things like I'm a Capricorn ... They're talking about all these traits. Capricorn, a lot of young people doing it. It's pretty funny, and that's good because there's a lot of serious stuff going on, and there's a lot of people doing silly stuff and giving us entertainment and making us laugh. So we need both. We need the serious astrologers and healing arts people, and then we need the silly people on Instagram and X doing silly shorts and doing funny things and saying Capricorn, like, hey, I'm going to help you achieve your goals, but I don't want to be, I'm going to keep my distance because I like my alone time, or, things like that. So, but Capricorn, it's serious business for the most part, where Capricorn is in your chart. it's definitely going to be serious business. So since we have 4 people, astrology is very interesting indeed. Indeed it is. It's I just to give you a little background, when I got started as a teenager, my mother, my mom was into astrology in the 60s and 70s. And then when I was a teenager, she had various books around and often took books out from the library as well. And it took me a while to warm up to reading them and exploring them. But I remember my mom would say, "Hey, look at this book. Check this out. I read this or I skimmed this. It's kind of interesting." And initially, I wasn't that interested. I was a little skeptical, but I just didn't have the interest. I didn't have the draw to it. But then when I started reading The Sun Signs by Linda Goodman, which some people don't like that because it's just talking about sun signs, but it was interesting nonetheless. And some of the other books about the zodiac, and then getting into all the 12 signs and the kind of classic signs, it was like, oh, cool. And then I started looking up my friends as a teenager. And into my late teens, I started looking up my friends and family members. And my father was also into astrology, and he would read those little astrology rolls and look at the lucky numbers and stuff. And I don't know if that was superstition or whatever, but he had a good basic knowledge of the signs and believed in some of the energies as well. I remember he said to me once, Steve McQueen, the daredevil actor who did race scenes, right? Speeding scenes in his movies, was an Aries. And Aries is Mars and fire. And Aries is all about danger and risk and speeding. That's Mars. So I remember him mentioning Steve McQueen being attracted to those roles. And Marlon Brando also doing some kind of intensity and action in his roles as an actor, being with all that Aries energy. So it's really cool that my parents helped me get into it. It was like a little gentle push. And then once I was in college and then post-college, I read some more books, started getting into the astrology software. And then it was history at that point. Then I knew I was hooked because I saw the value in it. And then I had a lot of friends in my 20s, especially mid-late 20s, that would meet me and say, "Oh, that's BS. That's, malarkey. That doesn't mean anything. It's all made up. It's all guesses." And to some extent, predictions can be superficial, or they can be lightweight if they're done, in a non-heart-centered manner. In other words, if your intentions are superficial to give people fake guidance or to try to trick people, which there are psychics and mediums and astrologers and tarot people that are really good with words and know how to trick people, and that's just not cool. And I think eventually that will catch up with them. They'll be able to get away with it for a little bit, but through charm, but they won't be able to. It won't be lasting. But it's definitely, when I got into it and started using the software, it's just an amazing. It's just an amazing thing that the more you look at, and the more you look up charts, like I've probably looked up thousands of celebrity charts over the years, and actually read the whole chart, and looked at the planets and looked at aspects, and you just, the more you do it, for the most part, the easier it gets. But it depends on what approach you're using too. It depends on, astrology can't be all mental. It can't be all scientific and logical and mental. And some astrologers are like that. And they'll write a very logical book because they created a course, and then they'll write a book. And there's a place for that. And that's wonderful. But some books are often missing the personal side of it, or the intuitive side of it, and the more gut sense, your sensation and your gut sense, your sixth sense, or your common sense about getting answers and what feels right. and that sort of thing. And what's interesting about Capricorn, which we're in now, Capricorn is a sign, it's an earth sign, and it rules sensation. So it rules the senses. And Capricorn can be a skeptical or suspicious sign. It's kind of dual in a sense, even though it's not a dual sign by symbol. The goat can be interested in higher subjects that are serious, like metaphysical subjects, like astrology or reincarnation or deep science fiction or deep things in literature. Capricorn can be really into that, and they could do a deep dive into that. Capricorn can really stay with that. But at the same time, Capricorn can be suspicious and skeptical. And any of you that know Capricorn people, or a lot of Capricorn in your chart, there's an element of cautiousness there. Oh, Capricorn can be so cautious. And I say that it can be both good and bad, because life requires some risk, obviously. And Capricorn's like calculated risk. But Capricorn's cautiousness can sometimes prevent the Capricorn from learning new things and adopting a kind of a softer or more emotional approach to absorbing different subjects and different ways of doing things, and maybe not always doing things that are old-fashioned. Not every Capricorn is old-fashioned, obviously, and stodgy, but some Capricorns can be if they're operating from that kind of old school Capricorn. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what's called for. There's nothing wrong with doing things the right way and doing things step by step and earning the rewards and earning the process. But there's also, being too cautious. And, with the Sun, Mars, and Pluto in Capricorn, that's an awful lot of Capricorn cautiousness and energy and power. But like I said at the beginning of the live stream, we're going to be entering that Pluto in Aquarius very soon. That's in January. That is so cool. I can't wait for that. And again, if you can find out where that is, what house that's in your chart. If any of you attend a future live stream and you want me to showcase your chart, maybe I could do a mini read on your chart. I could draw your wheel up here and your planets, and then I could show everyone where Pluto and Aquarius, where it's going to be this year in your chart, which would be kind of cool, which would be really, really cool. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Wow, we're going on almost an hour and a half here. Wow, look at that. This is great. Let's see. So with the transits, I mean, we got a lot of Earth. We got the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto, and the Lilith is in Virgo. So there's so much Earth. And then we have Chiron and the node in Aries. Saturn and Neptune are both in Pisces. That's very big for Pisces planets. And then we have Sag in Mercury and Venus. And the Mercury in Sagittarius is not necessarily the greatest placement for our thinking. It can overreach things, and it can be a little too blunt. And the moon is in Scorpio tonight, which is probably part of the reason why I keep going with this live stream and feeling like I want to do more and more of a deep dive. But I think I'm going to wrap it up for now. We're almost at an hour and a half. My voice is crackling a little bit. But I really appreciate you hanging in there with me. And don't forget to watch all my videos. By now, I have at least 1 or 2 or 3 videos of every sign in my playlists. I have my playlist, earth signs, air signs, water signs, fire signs. And then I have the motivation series videos. I'm doing videos on how to coach each sign. If I were to coach you astrologically, I just did one yesterday on how to coach Capricorn. So if you know someone who's a Capricorn, suggest that to them. And I think I did How to Coach Sag as well before that. So thinking of all sorts of cool video ideas for the new year, but you can check those out in the meantime and leave comments in the videos or leave comments here and let me know what country you're from. Let me know, are you like a beginner with astrology, intermediate? Are you an advanced astrology? And, again, what country you're from, and also your sign or your birthday. A woman told me last week she was January 10th, and I was mentioning Capricorn. So that sort of thing. So again, Happy New Year to everybody. I hope other people from other countries get to see this. And it's a wonderful thing for any of us to be able to transmit our messages, not only to our own country in the United States, but anywhere where there's an internet connection. That's pretty amazing. So Happy New Year. Good luck for all the Capricorn birthdays. And I most likely will see all of you next week. And stay safe and be healthy, especially Capricorn people. Take a break and do something for yourself. Thank you. Have a good night. I'll see you next week. Astroscoop.